politics for the last several months. And if the Republican leadership is prepared to get serious about doing something for families that are hurting out there, I would love to talk to them. Now, on the high-income tax cuts, my position is let's get done what we all agree on. What they've said is they agree that the middle-class tax cuts should be made permanent. Let's work on that. Let's do it. We can have a further conversation about how they want to spend an additional $700 billion to give an average of $100,000 to millionaires. That, I think, is a bad idea. If you were going to spend that money, there are a lot better ways of spending it, but more to the point, these are the same folks who say that they're concerned about the deficits. Why would we borrow money on policies that won't help the economy and help people who don't need help? But setting that aside, we've got an area of agreement, which is let's help families out there who are having a tough time. As I said, we could this month give every American certainty and tax relief up to $250,000 a year. Every single American would benefit from that. Now, people who make $250,000 a year or less, they'd benefit on all their income. People who make $1 million would benefit on a quarter of their income. But the point is that that's something that we can all agree to. Why hold it up? Why hold the middle class hostage in order to do something that most economists don't think makes sense? So. What I'm saying is let's do what we agree to and that the Americans, people, overwhelmingly agree to, which is let's give certainty to families out there that are having a tough time. Chip Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the economic package that you rolled out earlier this week, first on the business tax cuts, why did you wait until this superheated campaign season to roll it out? A lot of your critics and even some Democrats say, well, clearly he's just using this for political purposes. He doesn't have any expectation it's actually going to be passed. It's a political weapon. Why did you wait so long to bring that out? And on the stimulus part, we can't get people in the White House to say it is a stimulus, $50 billion for roads and other infrastructure, but they avoid the word stimulus like the plague. Is that because the original stimulus is so deeply unpopular? And if so, why is it so unpopular?
Well, let me go back to when I first came into office. We had an immediate task, which was to rescue an economy that was tipping over a cliff. And we put in place an economic plan that 95% of economists say substantially helped us avoid a depression. A third of those were tax cuts, by the way. A third of that economic plan was tax cuts for individuals and for small businesses. So we haven't, this notion that we waited until now to put forward a series of plans, Chip, we've, just on the small business issue alone, we have cut taxes for small businesses 8 times during the course of the last 18 months. So we're hardly Johnny-come-latelys on this issue. Now, when you put all the things we've done together, it has made a difference. 3 million people have jobs that wouldn't have them otherwise had we not taken these steps. The economy would be in much worse shape. But as I said before, we're not where we need to go yet, which means that if we're not there yet, what else can we do? And the proposals that we've put forward are ones that historically, again, have garnered bipartisan support. A research and development tax credit so that companies that are investing in research here in the United States, which is part of what's going to keep us growing and keep us innovative, let's make sure that companies are strongly incentivized to do that. Making sure that their expensing, accelerated business depreciation, is happening in 2011. so that if companies are sort of sitting on the sidelines right now, not sure whether they should invest, let's give them an incentive to go ahead and invest now to give that a jump start. On infrastructure, we've got a highway bill that traditionally is done every 6 years. And what we're saying is, let's ramp up what we're doing. Let's beef it up a little bit, because we've got this infrastructure all across the country that everybody from governors to mayors to economists to engineers of all political stripes have said is holding us back in terms of our long-term competitiveness. Let's get started now, rebuilding America. And in terms of paying for some of these things, let's stop giving tax breaks to companies that are shipping jobs overseas. Let's stop incentivizing that. Let's give tax breaks to companies that are investing right here in the United States of America. Those are all common sense approaches. Historically, as you know, you've been around this town for a long time, usually Republicans and Democrats agree on infrastructure. Usually Republicans and Democrats agree on making sure that research and development investments are made right here in the United States. And so let's get it done. It has nothing to do with the notion that somehow what we did previously didn't work. It worked. It just hasn't done as much as we need it to do. We've still got a long ways to go, and we're going to keep on doing it.
So this is a second stimulus.
You know, here's how I would, there is no doubt that everything we've been trying to do, is designed to stimulate growth and additional jobs in the economy. I mean, that's our entire agenda. So I have no problem with people saying the president is trying to stimulate growth and hiring. Isn't that what I should be doing? I would assume that's what the Republicans think we should do, to stimulate growth and jobs. And I will keep on trying to stimulate growth and jobs for as long as I'm President of the United States. Hans Nichols.
I can ask you in a verb because of noun. That's my real question. It's now been more than 2 months since the Financial Regulatory Bill has passed. A centerpiece of that was what you talked about as Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and yet you haven't named a head. Is Elizabeth Warren still a leading candidate? And if not, are you worried about some sort of Senate hurdle for her confirmation? Thank you.
Yeah. This is a great opportunity to talk to the American people about what I do think is going to be hugely helpful to middle-class families in the years and decades to come, and that is an agency that has been set up, an independent agency, whose sole job is to protect families in their financial transactions. So, if you are getting a credit card, we are going to have an agency that makes sure that that credit card company can't jack up your rates without any reason, including on old balances. And that could save American consumers tens of billions of dollars just in the first couple of years. If you are out there looking for a mortgage, and we all know that part of the problem with the financial crisis was that folks were peddling mortgages that were unstable, that had these huge balloon payments, that people didn't fully understand. Well, now there's going to be some oversight in terms of how mortgages are shaped, and people are going to actually have to know what they're getting, what they're buying into. That's going to protect the economy as well as individual consumers. So this agency, I think, has the capacity to really provide middle-class families the kind of protection that's been lacking for too long. Now, the idea for this agency was Elizabeth Warren's. She's a dear friend of mine. She's somebody I've known since I was in law school. And I have been in conversations with her. She is a tremendous advocate for this idea. It's only been a couple of months, and this is a big task standing up this entire agency. So I'll have an announcement soon about how we're going to move forward. I think what's fair to say is that I have had conversations with Elizabeth over the course of these last couple of months, but I'm not going to make an official announcement until it's ready.
Are you unofficially concerned about a Senate confirmation?
You know, I'm concerned about all Senate confirmations these days. I mean, if I nominate somebody for dog catcher...
But with respect to Elizabeth Warren, are you...
Hans, I wasn't trying to be funny. I am concerned about all Senate nominations these days. I've got people who've been waiting for 6 months to get confirmed, who nobody has an official objection to, and who were voted out of committee unanimously, and I can't get a vote on them. We've got judges who are pending. We've got people who are waiting to help us on critical issues like Homeland Security. And it's very hard when you've got a determined minority in the Senate that insists on a 60-vote filibuster on every single person that we're trying to confirm. Even if after we break the filibuster, it turns out that they get 90 votes. They're just playing games. And you know, as I think Senator Voinovich said very well, it's time to stop playing games. All right. Chuck Todd.
Given the theme, I think, of all your answers, I just got a short question for you. How have you changed Washington?
Well, I'll tell you how we've changed Washington. Prior to us getting here, as I indicated before, you had a set of policies that were skewed towards special interests, skewed towards the most powerful, and ordinary families out there were being left behind. And since we've gotten here, whether it's making sure that folks who can't get health insurance because of pre-existing condition can now get health insurance, or children who didn't have coverage now have coverage, whether it's making sure that credit card companies have to actually post in understandable ways what your credit card rates are, and they can't jack up existing balances in arbitrary ways, whether it's making sure that we've got clean water and clean air for future generations, whether it's making sure that tax cuts go to families that need it as opposed to folks who don't. On a whole range of issues over the last 18 months, we've put in place policies that are going to help grow a middle class and lay the foundation for long-term economic growth. Now, if you're asking why haven't I been able to create a greater spirit of cooperation in Washington, I think that's fair. I'm as frustrated as anybody by it. I think part of it has to do with the fact that when we came into office, we came in under very tough economic circumstances. And I think that some of the Republican leaders made a decision. We're going to sit on the sidelines and let the Democrats try to solve it. And so we got a lot of resistance very early. I think what's also true is that when you take on tough issues like health care or financial regulatory reform, where special interests are deeply entrenched, there's a lot of money at stake for them, and where the issues are so complicated that it drags on for a long time, you end up having a lot of big fights here in town, and it's messy, and it's frustrating, and well, and so, there is no doubt that an option that was available to me when I came in was not to take on those issues. I mean, we could have decided, you know what, even though we know that the pace of accelerating healthcare costs is going to bankrupt this economy and bankrupt businesses and bankrupt individuals, and even though we know that there are 30 million people, and that's a growing number of people who don't have health insurance, we could have said, you know what, that's just too controversial. Let's not take it on. And we could have said, with respect to financial regulatory reform, you know what, we're just going to get too much resistance from Republicans. We shouldn't take that on.